I'm going to be doing a watercolor painting using acrylic paints as watercolor. I have 140-pound watercolor paper here. All my brushes are set out. So let's get started. First thing I want to do is wet the sky area. I do have an area sketched out here where my mat's going to go over it, so I can sort of judge where my area will be that I need to paint in. So I am just basically using clear water in the sky area. Now when you're using acrylics as watercolor, you don't want it real thick, not like it. You're gonna basically get that paint almost, you can see it's just basically dripping right down. That's how wet it is. And we can start at the top. And you can see how it's, and I'm gonna go just outside that area so that if my mat moves over a little bit, it will cover it. I'm gonna add a little more up here. And then I'm just gonna basically work down. And you can see it automatically gets lighter as you move down. Okay. I'm gonna take a paper towel, just a plain paper towel, and pick up some areas where you can see how that's picking up the paint. And it looks like maybe some clouds in the sky. I'm going to touch just a little bit of the alizarin crimson. Like I said, lots of water. I'm going to start at the bottom and kind of work back up into the skies. So we got a little variation in color. And let's kind of get rid of that hard line. And I'm not going to pick up much there, just a little. Okay, we basically have a sky. You can make it darker or lighter depending on how much color you want to put on, but it's always good to let it dry a little bit before you go back in. I'm going to go in. Now with watercolor painting, we don't normally use the color white. You can do a few touch-ups with white if you need to, but generally you do not use whites, so you use the white of the paper. So when we start putting our water in, if you want waves, you need to leave some of the whites of the paper. And I'm going to pick up just a little extra water as I come down. A little more water. I haven't added any more color to my brush other than the initial color I picked up. And I'm going to kind of bring that up to right up to the sky area. Just kind of add just a little bit more glue to the brush. Just kind of streak some more across here. Not sure how far I want to bring that water down. You can take your brush, like here with the clouds, you can kind of scumble and pick a little bit more of that up. That a little better. Okay. Biggest thing with using watercolor paper is letting areas dry before you go in and start working in it. There is a wet on wet method, but it does cause the paint to sort of bloom out. So if that's the kind of effect you want, that's great. So with the trees, I don't mind some of the color blooming out. And like I said, you're going to keep that paint wet. And you always go light to dark when you're doing acrylics or doing watercolor. You start off with that, and then you can go in, pick up a little more color, and then you can start on the shadow side of the sky. You can start adding some of them darks. But you see how you already have the highlights here. And if you get too dark, you can always wet your brush. You can always go in and pick up a little of that. Okay. Let's add a few on this side. This one here. Okay, I'm going to add a touch of blue to that green. Not much, just a little. Put a few highlight, dark areas on it. You can see how much darker that is. I think I'm going to do that on this side as well. And you can see it's I'm putting wet on wet. You can see how it's sort of blooming out and blending. And that's the effect you want. And if you get too much paint here, you can just take a dry, clean brush. If you touch it, it kind of soaks up some of that excess water. Little tricks. All right, let's put something along the landscape here. Let's go into the blues, the greens. Mostly stay towards the green color. Lots of water. Like I said, we are doing a watercolor. We're not doing a basic acrylic color, even though we're using acrylic paint. And let's see. Just the corner of the brush, maybe. Things are going here. I think I'm going to go a little more green. Maybe some black background trees there. And I'm using basically the side of the brush, just sort of bring in. And I'm gonna get lots of water in my brush. I'm gonna kind of just scum along the bottom. Let some of it bleed into that water, that's fine. And just for a little variety, I'm going to add a little yellow to that green. And just touch it here and there. And like I said, you're going to go light first to dark. I'm going to touch back into that darker green with a little bit of the blues in it. And along the bottom here. You can bring some of it up. And then real darker underneath the trees here. And then I'm going to kind of bring a little land across. Sort of just a streak of land. Get a little bit of that land out there. Some growing out there too. Go into the darks. you do different planes by changing either the tone or the color that you're working with, so that you have one plane here and you have another one here, and you can see it gives you distance. Now this one we're just gonna drag some out here in the water. And like I said, we can come outside the frame a little bit. Okay, we're gonna let that dry just a bit. And we'll put some, in fact, what I can do is the back of this brush is sort of pointed. I can actually go in and cut in. It's hard to see, but wherever you sort of scratch the paper, the paint sort of collects there, and it looks like little tree trunks or something growing there. And I will go put ahead and put some trunks in there once that dries. So that's a cute little way, simple way of making it look like you got some tree trunks in there. And when you get up close, you'll actually see them. All right. I have a small fan brush. I'm gonna pick up a touch of reds, yellows, go into my greens, just variety of colors. And then I'm gonna kind of pull up some grasses here, bring it out into the water. You can see how that works real well at pulling up. And I'm just going to take a clean brush with a little water, just kind of blur out the bottom a little bit. Pick up a little bit of my blues, just plain blues, and with the water, just sort of bring that little bit of water line out there. I'll go back into my blues, and with this, maybe I'm gonna do a little bit of waterfall. Don't lose all that white. You want that white. So now that I have that, I'm gonna take a touch of brown. Not much, maybe, and some rocks there. Just some little bit of land or some kind of holding, causing that water to sort of fall over. Back into my blues a little bit. Give it a little pull underneath that. And then pull it out. Some land under there. Maybe some a little more grasses growing over here in the water. Okay. And the way you can tell if it's dry, you can use the back of your hand. Now that one's fairly dry. This one is still a little damp. But I want to show you, I'm going to get into my browns. Get it fairly wet. And you can kind of put a few tree trunks in here. And some of these little holes where it's open, you can put a few branches. I think this one we might be able to get away with. And here's a trick. If you get it real wet, you can always take a hair blower and seeing how I'm dragging that out a little bit, just sort of bringing it into the land there. A little bit of land in there. And even pick up a few things there, little sticks, twigs. We can even go in here and add a few. No, I don't want many out here. we did the, we scratched in here, so it looks like a lot of them are in there, but I just want some real light ones in here. You can barely see it, but when you get up close, you'll see them a little bit better. And maybe one over here. You can even add a little bit of green to the tops of that one a little bit, since it's a little more distinct. Okay. All right, let's get some blues now. Now remember, we have to leave the white of the paper, so we're more or less doing under the little splashes, little dots here and there, but we want to leave a lot of the whites there. Let's get a little more water. And we're gonna, right here, we're gonna grab a little bit underneath those rocks. And keep it fairly light. I mean, you can always go back in and keep adding the darkers. Okay, let's pick up some greens. I'm gonna put a little more land coming in. I'm gonna slope it down a little bit. I'm just gonna take plain water, bring that land down. I had green on my brush here, and as I came down, just added water. Now I'm going to add a little more green because I want it a little darker in these corners here. But add some water, work my way up, and it doesn't matter if it leaks down, that's fine. It can drip. And then pull that out a little bit that way. Okay, let's add some land on the other side. Get a little darker. Just out to there. I'm going with a little bit of the browns. Maybe there's a... Now I'm rinsing my brush. Just got plain water on. Drag that brown out a little bit here. Bring some of that down into the water. Back to my blues, bring that, and see how it dribbles down. So you got to be careful. If you don't want that effect, keep your paint separated from the wet. Yeah. And here comes that water. It's swirling here. It's going to come right off the paper here. We got a little, like a little river there coming through. Okay, I go back to my fan brush with the greens. And this is still wet, but I want the fan brush all, see how it's all separated, the bristles? I'm gonna pull some grasses up here. Bring that out. I'm gonna add a touch of the red, bright red. And give it more of a wheat color between the yellows, greens. And I'm going to go into the little bit of darker greens underneath. I'm just using a fan brush. You can use the flat brush too if you want, but this one's working good, and I can keep pulling up grasses. Maybe pull a few of those up. Over here, I'm just gonna pull a few. I don't want, that's far away, hard to see. And see this right here, we're gonna put some little bit of blue underneath there, just to, or brown, something to mark the water from the grass. But right now, these are getting a little taller, little yellows. Let's add some variety. Touch of the reds. Get a little more red there. And maybe, I got one corner. This corner over here has got brown, and then I've got the other variety of colors. So you can see you're getting maybe some drier grasses over here. They didn't get a lot of rain there. All right, let's go back to my greens. I'm gonna darken some of this here. And then I'm gonna touch the browns. Maybe there's a little pathway that comes through here. Somebody wants to come out and fish. You can follow that little pathway. I'm gonna add some water, just clean my brush, and basically just water. Just sort of bleed that out a little bit so it isn't quite so dark. Okay. Back to my greens. I'm going to set that path down a little by just adding a few grasses here and there. Maybe a couple right over in this corner. Looks like we got a nice painting going. I'm going to go in to my blues, get it a little bit darker, and I'm kind of add a little more darks right here. And then I'm gonna kind of put a little water line right there. And then one straight across there. Maybe a little land underneath that. Just a little of browns and blues. All right. Let's go ahead and pick up some browns. Maybe here we got a little stick, twig, something coming up, just something for of interest. And let's sort of pull a little bit of that, add a little green, give it a little shadow on the bottom. Sort of set it in the ground. And we'll use some browns over here, maybe a something growing over here. Some twigs, want some yellows, maybe get some taller grasses here. There, don't come, the paint don't come off yet, it's not wet enough. But we can, let's see how we can get some taller grasses up here closer. Touch of the red. Okay. Notice up here we've got sort of a dark spot. So I'm going to mix some of the browns, the greens, the alizarin crimsons, just like we do with my other paintings. We'll get a nice dark color. I think we'll use that spot to put our birds in. There's one. Oops, let's get his wing a little longer. And there's two. And a couple birds. Okay, I'm gonna just go on my basic reds. Yeah, with watercolor, since it's on paper, you can take an ink pen and sign your name, but I'm just gonna do it with my paints. Let's get a little more paint here. And that looks more like an E. Let's get an O in there. And our little dot there. And I think we have another finished painting. I hope you enjoyed that.